should you absolutely not do at a wedding? Story 1. Propose to your girlfriend while you're in someone else's wedding reception. You, sir, are a douchebag if you do this. Asterisk, asterisk. Edit. Asterisk, asterisk. I'm getting a lot of comments about how it's okay as long as you have asked for permission from the bride and groom beforehand. While that may sound asterisk fine, asterisk personally, I think you should still avoid doing this because, well, it's just in bad taste. Pick your own special day and let the newlyweds enjoy theirs. Story 2. Take the mother of the bride into the coat room and bang the out of her. So the father of the bride can hear it, but he just sits there sad with his head down, because he knows he can't do anything because of all your recent gains at the gym. Edit. Thanks for the gold kind person. I think I'll skip leg day tomorrow. Story 3. Do not bring up the subject of the groom's ex-wife, especially in a speech. I witnessed a terrible best man speech where he basically bashed the groom's prior marriage and said that he hoped this one turned out better. It was a truly painful speech. Story 4. My Uncle Rob got married at the same place to two different women about 15 years apart. My father says, "Hey, Rob, after the third time, do you get your own parking space or something?" The bride's family were least impressed. Story 5. When they are exchanging the rings, don't stand up, dressed as Sauron and say, "But they were, all of them deceived, for another ring was made," whilst putting on a ring too. Story 6. Organize a wager amongst the guests. They can bet how many weeks the marriage will last. Side bets with who's going to cheat first are included. Make sure everyone has a chance to bet, including the bride and groom. Story 7. Be an iPad videographer while standing in the middle of the aisle. JPG happened at my buddy's wedding last week. They had a professional videographer, and this guy thought he was doing a service to the couple. He watched the entire wedding through his iPad. Edit 2. I love that everyone is concerned with what he's wearing. It was a beach wedding that was crazy hot and humid, and we all wore shorts and sandals. Let's focus on the bigger issue here, people. Put the device down and be present on their special day. Story 8. Also want to add, show up if you didn't RSVP, said you weren't coming. And more importantly, do asterisk, 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 not asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Bring a date if your invite didn't say and guest. If you really think your new boyfriend of 6 whole weeks should be invited to your second cousin's big day, ask the couple before assuming and just showing up with another person. Story 9. Have a ridiculously expensive wedding at a resort and expect all guests to front the cost. My wife and I were invited to a couple's wedding in Jamaica. The cost per person was $1,000 for 4 days, not including food or airfare during a busy tourist season. It was also a themed wedding, and not a fun theme like Renaissance garb, but some kind of Italian clothing where everyone had to match. You had to show up to someplace, get fitted for the style, and buy the suit or dress. For a guy, it was about $350, but depending on the women's size, up to $1,200 for a dress. I have no idea how much a bridesmaid or usher had to pay. This was just to be a guest. We declined, along with the majority of those invited. The bride gave everyone a hard time, especially because the $1,000/person was only if some minimum purchased was reached. The fact we wouldn't pay meant others would be forced to pay more. I just didn't have the estimated $5,000 plus time off work to go. They had the wedding anyway, but out of several hundred they planned for, 30 came. The groom had to change his best man twice because his first two couldn't pay the steep fees required. This was flaunted as, well, now we know who our real friends are. Marriage lasted 7 months. I forgot why they split up. Story 10. Take a nuclear in the bathroom of the bridal suite, where the newlyweds will spend their first night of married life together, an hour before the ceremony. Oh, and having a nap on the giant bed too, without making the sheets. My wife still hasn't forgiven you, Adam. Story 11. Getting stupidly drunk and lifting up the bride's skirt while the groom is going for the garter thing on her leg, puking all over the DJ's soundboard and in his bag, almost starting a fist fight with childhood friends. My friend Jorge did all this at my buddy's wedding. It's all on tape. Story 12:1. Get drunk and knock over the wedding cake. Have seen this before and it was just terrible. 2. Sing Mustang Sally because you're a distant relative who is in an white old man band. I don't know why people do this, but I've seen it 3x now. Nobody wants to hear you sing Mustang Sally. Not the couple, not the guests, and certainly not the band that does this for a living. 3. Have a cash bar. Story 13. If your sibling is getting married and you fly in for the wedding, do not refuse to take family pictures. You are family and you should take pictures. After you are forced to be in tilde, take tilde pictures by your father, who has to tell you to be part of the family. Don't say the following: "That was torturous," or I fucking hate weddings in front of your siblings' new in-laws. You will look like a brat, and no, unlike your father and mother, the new in-laws will not defend your behavior. And finally, get off your god phone. It looks really disrespectful in pictures. TLDR, got married on Sunday and SIL was a brat. Luckily, the wedding was a huge success and she didn't ruin the day. Edit. To be clear, family pictures were before the ceremony and reception. If she didn't want to take pictures, she just didn't have to show. Edit 2. Wording Edit 3. This just in, it seems my photographer was asked by her to take pictures of her and her aunt, which are on my proof CD. So, yeah, not anxiety, just a brat. Story 14. True story. Groom had a previous fiancée who died suddenly and accidentally before they could get married. Very sad, tragic. She was a sweet girl and everyone loved her. One of those whole town turned out for the funeral sort of things. Anyway, fast forward a few years and Groom has met a new girl. She's a good person, but she's not from the small town that the former fiancé was from, and everyone sort of already has it out for her. New girl is big city, has a little edge to her. Old girl, small town girl next door. No matter what, the new girl will never ever be as good as the old girl. So, at the wedding, the sister of the groom, who is a bridesmaid, offers a toast in remembrance of the dead fiancé. It was among the least classy, shocking things I had ever seen, and the sister was absolutely clueless about what she'd done. Long story short, don't ever talk about the bride or groom's exes, be they saints, sinners, living or dead. The wedding day is about the couple and not their past relationships. Story 15. Stand up when they ask if anyone objects and yell out, "I do!" Then storm up the aisle, and as soon as you reach the bride and groom, turn around and yell, "Psych!" Story 16. Me and some friends were camping on the lake for the weekend of a wedding, and one of them didn't pack nice pants or a belt. He wore a dress shirt that he apparently dropped in the road while unloading our stuff because we found it hanging on the outhouse the next morning. He then proceeded to get drunk the night before the wedding, run straight for the lake, and trip over a stump, smashing his face into a fence post. So for the wedding, he showed up with a shoestring belt, dirty shirt, a massive black eye. And on top of that, he accidentally brought 2 dates to the wedding. Don't do any of these things. That being said, I'm glad he did. Story 17. I shoot a lot of wedding, and there are far too many girls in far too skimpy of clothing, and I'm a 23-year-old male. Don't look like a hussy in front of your friend's family. Dress respectfully. Story 18. Anything that makes you the center of attention. This is about the couple's day, and asterisk, 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 nobody else's. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You want to propose to your girlfriend? Save it for the jumbotron. Want to give a clever speech and then strip of your tearaway clothes and go streaking? Save it for graduation. Dying of a heart attack? Just sit in a corner and at least asterisk try asterisk to pretend you are British and slip off your mortal coil quietly and with dignity. Story 19. Drink a quart of whiskey before the ceremony, refuse to put on a shirt during the ceremony, and then sit in your car and blast techno the whole time because you were asked to leave. Someone did this at a wedding I was at on Saturday. Story 20. At my brother's wedding, the bride's sister, the maid of honor, threw a huge fucking tantrum and put the bride's veil in the bathroom trash can right before the ceremony was supposed to start. So, there's that. Story 21. Well, the bride, I guess, is about the worst you can do. I've heard it's social suicide to ask someone's hand in marriage whilst at wedding, taking away attention and whatnot. Story 22. Instead of untying the little bag of seed and showering the bride and groom, toss the whole thing and have it land in the bride's cleavage. I was a kid and didn't know the tradition. Story 23. By all means, joke about objecting to the marriage before the wedding, but do not joke about doing that hours before the wedding. People need to learn to take a joke. Story 24. If you are a bride or groom, don't make a scene. It will be what nearly everyone remembers about your wedding if you do. My wife and I had a small ceremony with just our parents and my sister and her husband. We were in a small dining room for the reception, and the AC had broken earlier in the day. They had repaired it in time for dinner, but it was taking a while to cool down. The parents started getting ornery, but some strong drinks later we were all laughing, dancing, and sweating up a storm. Talking with the family later, they were all surprised that my wife or I didn't pitch a huge fit about the temperature. They were pleased too, as it would have been the only hitch in an otherwise awesome day. On the other hand, my sister and her husband were married and had a cousin announce her pregnancy over the microphone after dinner. My sister tried to ask her quietly to just leave, but she made a scene before doing so. Then the groom's best man got into a fight with his fiancée, and she tried to drive off crying but backed into a tree. She was sober. The fiancé was belligerently drunk and threatening to fight people to get him outside to cool off, so the groom tossed a bucket of ice water on him. Despite that rest of the wedding, reception, and day being fine, that is all people remember. Story 25. I attended a wedding for a friend a couple summers ago. His best man, who was extremely intoxicated, got up to give his best man speech. We were all nervous about it already, but when he blurted out, "You know, me and your wife, we have a past. No, 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 dear God, abort, abort, abort. Dear God, abort, abort." Story 26. Don't be late, and if you are, don't get mad if they carried on without you. My BFS mother told me her wedding had a strict start time. She kept to it, as she and her husband were leaving. A few aunts were just walking in. LOL. Story 27. When the minister says, "If anyone knows of any reason these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace. Don't roll 2d20s on a wooden pew. It echoes terribly loud when no one is talking." Story 28. I am told I told the bride's sister I wanted to come down her throat in front of my wife. We were both in the wedding party. Actually, I remember it quite vividly. It was part of some bizarre bet with the groom. Would her boyfriend kill me? No. I also suggested the groom's childhood family activities included the KKK, and his father had eaten a baby. I was a weird choice for bridal party, but his brother's 1 hour long and extremely drunk, confused and frequently boring speech demanded random interjections. Story 29. My mother-in-law stood up at my wedding reception and said, "This marriage between Henry and what's-her-name is never going to last." I am what's-her-name. Don't do that. I'm still angry 13 years later. Story 30. Damn, this will probably get buried, but I am a wedding DJ, so I see people do stupid all the time. A few months ago, I had a best man at a wedding give the toast. During the toast, he was talking about how his brother the groom had found the best girl in the world. He goes on to say that we should all be jealous because none of us will find girls even close to how amazing the bride was. Keep in mind he is saying all of this with his girlfriend of 3 years right next to him. The girlfriend bursts into tears. I cut the guy's mic off and we quickly moved to cutting the cake. Needless to say, the poor girl dumped him about 30 minutes later. At another wedding for some very redneck people, they decided it would be a great idea to light a bonfire, seeing as though their wedding was in a barn. That day, it happened to be very windy, and the bonfire was right next to a hayfield. It took about 10 minutes before the field started to catch on fire. So like clockwork, the fire department shows up. The guys at the wedding had been drinking moonshine for about 3 hours, and one of them was stupid enough to drive. As the fire truck is coming down the driveway, the guy trying to leave hits the fire truck. Hilarity ensues. I promptly packed mine and got out of there. 7/10 was a fun wedding. Edit. Another story. Story 31. Say fuck or God in a best man speech when my wife's Christian family, including a pastor, is in attendance. My best man started his speech with, "God, man, it's your fucking day, man. It's your fucking day." Who knew he could say so many wrong things in one sentence? Story 32. Do not empty out the gigantic, hollowed-out watermelon serving as a fruit buffet, put it on your head, and lead a drunken, fruit-just-smeared conga line around the entire reception room when the bride's party are basically Italian mafia and staring at you in abject loathing. Story 33. I once photographed a wedding, and during the family photographs with the bride and groom, the bride's mother and father were put on opposite sides because they were divorced and not behaving. The mother was drunk, and during the photo she was yelling over the heads of the bride and groom, insulting her ex-husband. The bride was near tears, and we had to stop taking pictures until they could get the mother to calm down. It was the last wedding I ever photographed. Story 34. I'm from a very, very conservative background. I wore a halter-top dress but had a jacket over it. But the best man's family gossiped at my wedding about how horribly immodest my dress was. Basically called me A. Don't call the bride A. Even if you think it, keep your mouth shut, just for reference. Story 35. I'm a professional wedding DJ, and I've seen things go on behind the scenes. From the guest's perspective and the bride and groom's perspective. Asterisk, asterisk, bride and groom's asterisk, asterisk. The day of your wedding is not your planning day. Stop giving instructions and let your coordinators and vendors take care of it. You being a bridezilla or Godzilla stresses you out and makes everyone's day a horrible. Don't leave your guests for 2 or more hours while you take pictures in the sunset. Don't think you can treat your vendors and guests like slaves just because it's your special day. Don't complain that everyone is not having fun when you're both just sitting there and not encouraging your guests to have fun. Don't invite guests just because you want gifts. This usually ends up in having no gifts at all. Had a bride invite 300 guests in hopes of getting gifts, she barely knew them and received 20 gifts. Don't spend too much time with one guest and seclude all your other guests Asterisk, asterisk, guests, asterisk, asterisk. If you're the brother, uncle, whatever, don't assume you have authority. As vendors, coordinators, DJs have already discussed things with the bride and groom. No, we can't play 20 more songs because that requires to pay 40 people worth of staff because of you're drunk. It's up to the bride and groom to extend the time they choose to pay for. You're at a wedding. Don't be on your phone 24/7. Why did you come? Asterisk, asterisk. Do not disrupt the bride and groom's dinner. They've been up since 5 in the morning and taking pictures the entire day, greeting and not having any time to themselves. Be conscious of what you do and let them be peaceful for 20 minutes. Asterisk, asterisk. Unless you're a professional singer and the bride and groom have asked you to sing. Don't ask for the mic. Don't ever ask for the mic. If you request a song and the DJ doesn't play it, chances are it's in the bride and groom's asterisk. Asterisk, do not play asterisk, asterisk list. There are other things, but this stuff is pretty basic. I feel applies to most brides and grooms as well as their guests. Story 36, roast the groom when you give a speech. That's what the stag was for. The wedding is a show, and everybody gets to pretend that the couple is perfect and the marriage is going to last. Story 37. Damn, it's probably too late for this, but I'll post it anyway. Don't show up in the background of all of their pictures trying to take your own cell phone photos. Trust me, we paid that guy thousands of dollars to take photos at our wedding. Your cell phone shot isn't going to upstage him, and seriously, you ruined several of our photos, Kyle. And then he never even emailed the photos he took to us. Story 38 things I have actually seen happen asterisk. If you are one of the very few women invited to the bachelorette party, do not drunkenly admit that you had a giant crush on the groom for years during the roast. Groom had been with his bride that entire time. Asterisk. Do not attempt to invite random townies to your friend's wedding that you met the night before at the bachelorette party. Asterisk. Do not get so drunk during the reception that the bride needs to shuffle you onto the bus to get your home. Asterisk. Do not get so drunk that someone calls an ambulance for you. Story 39. Give the groom a blowjob right before the ceremony, even if it's a good way for him to calm the down. Also, don't mention to the bride that you did it when you see her in the receiving line. Definitely not a good idea. Story 40. Wedding musician here. The best cringeworthy story was a gig where the bride was known as quite the lover that is finally settling down. The best man toast focused on this as she was proclaimed as unavailable. The men were encouraged to return the key to her apartment. Man after man, head down, went up and deposited a key in a hat. It didn't get weird until the end when an elderly man with a walker slowly went up. After him, a very young boy bounced up to the astonishment of most of the gathering. That was over 18 years ago. I still remember it. Story 41. Say anything else than a compliment to the bride. She will likely get very upset by the smallest thing you can say. I need to pee underscore what? Why? Why do you need to pee? Is there not enough bathrooms in the reception? Did you mean the alcohol was too strong and makes you want to pee? The room is too hot and that makes you want to pee? You are bored, therefore you need to pee? Are you saying you're not enough entertained? Don't you like the reception? You